And I talked to you guys about having the heart rate readout live in my goggles.
Plug the goggles.
Oh, because you have the foam goggles.
You love them.
I have the foam goggles, but I love them for that application.
Whoa, hold on a second. I gotta pause on this. The first time you said something about this, John said, you said heart rate, and he said pulse rate. What is the difference?
Heart rate is only your heart. Pulse rate is any non-heart rate that you're taking. So
Okay.
there are errors with your pulse rate compared to your heart rate and differences.
And why?
Because just the time that it takes for the blood to get there, there are different changes that do occur.
Okay, got it.
It's very accurate though. I mean, it's definitely accurate enough for swimming and things like that. But technically, pulse rate versus heart rate.
So what I was using is a little sensor here on your temporal artery, which was
good job.
I know, but which because I remember when we were in high school and you got punched here, you could go to hospital. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Yeah, that's what we know about the temporary.
I want that one lane.
But so having your heart rate display in your goggles while you're swimming is something I've never had in my career swimming. Yours come to the wall, and in the old days we had anodes. That was really specific. Turetsky got RIP. Turetsky's sports scientist would come to our university, and he would have anodes, and anodes would measure our heart rate as accurately as he could at a time. I forgot what the anodes were attached, but he would do that. But we all do 10 seconds, right? But to have that while you're swimming, and then to have the pace change. So the endless pools, you have an app, and you can say for over a period of 5 minutes, 1 minute at 110, 1 minute at 51, 1 minute at 110 pace, 1 minute at 140 pace. So you're changing your pace when you're going. And it's wonderful. It's interesting to me to see my heart rate as I'm swimming, and as my fitness is declining because I'm out of shape, see my heart rate going up, but also when I'm making adjustments, does that help me get into a balance? So having a live heart rate there, seeing, I mean, even when you're running, you run a lot and you have your watch, and you run, you can check your watch, but still, that's not, you have to do that. But to have it there when you're swimming the whole time, it really makes you think about your fitness.
It is nice, but does heart rate really matter?
I'm 46 years old.
Does it matter?
You tell me.
I think there's a very valid argument. Obviously, a lot is based off of heart rate training, heart rate max, all these different things. But everyone's heart rate is so variable, and if we're really trying to get more and more towards race pace or high intensity stuff, I'm not sure if it really matters being able to track it. I think there's a lot of better variables,
like
in the swimming events that are important, which
lactate?
is not even lactate. In all honesty, I mean, lactate is a misnomer on what we're really trying to track. Lactate's just one element. It's more all the other metabolic waste that we're concerned about. But obviously, when we're looking at stuff, the more lactate is usually just a predictor of the higher work you perform. That's why sprinters, what did Nathan say he got to on that
20?
freaking...
I thought he said he got to 20.
I heard 20.
It's like 18 or 20.
Yeah, it just means he was working his butt off.
On the third of the...
That's all that showed, is that he worked his butt off, and that he has so much muscle mass he can break so much down. That's all that really shows. So I think it's more about being able to hold these paces with proper form. And yeah, perhaps these are corollaries, heart or pulse rate, as well as lactate and things like that. But I don't think it's the end all be all like a lot of the swimming.
Did you pay attention to your run today? You did 10 miles yesterday. Your heart rate is 160 average. You paid attention to that as much? I mean, how did that feel? You paid attention?
Yeah, I think the 160, I don't know that I trust it, because that was the watch heart rate. I just got a new battery for my chest heart rate monitor, but I don't know that I trust that. But I mean, there's some hills, and that number actually surprised me. I thought it was abnormally high. Maybe that's why my training status was unproductive. But
well, you have been going 5 minute miles.
10 miles unproductive.
I don't know why you're doing this. But thanks, Carmen.
Unproductive.
Brian, you'll be doing 5 minute pace miles, 5:30 pace miles, and then yesterday you went 7:54 average. So maybe your watch is like, okay, what's the slackness going about?
It was hilly though. There was a lot of gain. I was straight out the gates, like straight uphill. Yeah, I mean, well, so one of the things in that I've been thinking about is it's really common in other sports to be focused on different heart rate zones.
Big time.
And I've been struggling with this in my own training for distance or triathlon, is whether or not what's the right balance to that, because I've done a lot of the low heart rate balance, like low heart rate aerobic development,
low steady state stuff
paired with high intensity short stuff, and I'm still not sold on whether or not that produces the best result with just those elements. And so I'm curious. I feel like what you're saying is that may not really be relevant, or maybe it's not relevant for swimming.
Well, I think it depends a lot on the race and the distance and things like that.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, running and endurance running, like you were talking about, is way different than so many of the swimming events.
Yeah,
And I think with
very.
swimming, and even more so than running or all these other endurance sports, we put in all this time training with the idea to get feel and improve our biomechanics, when biomechanics really are the number one determinant of swimming success. So being able to focus those on more than necessarily energy systems, training zones, and all that would be huge. And that's where the endless pool could be huge if it can improve technical elements, or, TiVo. We had TiVo at Purdue, and it was huge, right? I mean, it gives you as close as you can to instantaneous feedback, but the swimming world is still so far behind on actually having instantaneous feedback. And we talked about having some audio stuff while you're swimming at the endless pool, and there are things like that, but that's still so far from being common. Even video in TiVo is so far from being common on pool decks, and I think that's one reason why young swimmers are getting better, is that they're watching more swimming because it's on YouTube. You're watching 1976 Olympics, the whole prelims race of 1980s, right? You can just watch it more, so you see more swimming, and that can really, I think, help swimmers build synapses on what is proper in the pool.
How come synchro, in synchro you get the underwater speakers and the synchro coaches talk and play the music and talk to the swimmers?
Don't go where you're going. I know where you're going.
Would that be
Don't say
cool
it.
but annoying?
What would Marsh be telling you underwater?
I had a nightmare at Christmas training one year this actually happened where Marsh is up in, I don't know where he went. It's where Indian River is, like one of the top community colleges, or was. We're in Florida at Christmas training, and there's a microphone and speakers up in the tower. So there's a room that's on a second story. It's like a press box, and David's up in the press box with a hot mic, barking out to different people in the pool, and he could see the whole pool. And I was just going, man, that was just a flash forward to the day that we all had an earpiece, and I felt like a NASCAR driver. Somebody telling me, or in the Tour de France, when to make a move.